Hi and welcome to Daily Chess and my coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix series in Beijing 2013. It's the fifth round and we had three decisive games. I would like to show you the game between Gata Kamsky and Anish Giri, in which Anish Giri managed to win the game and in a way exploit the opponent's rather dubious ideas. So I will show it from White's perspective. Okay, they went down a very popular line right now. This Moscow variation here with bishop e5. After bishop d7 takes, queen takes, and c4. White exchanged off his bad bishop before putting up the Maroczy bind, and next just playing d4 and in a way limiting black's counterplay a lot. And okay, Anish reacted in a very interesting way. Knight f6 attacking the pawn. Now knight c3 to defend it. And g6. So going for kind of a dragon type of position. The other and the main choice here actually is knight c6. And after d4 we get a similar structure. And now, okay, you could even sometimes consider playing e6 and bishop e7 in Scheveningen style, but okay, g6 is also not very bad. I mean, in a way, he avoids that this pawn becomes too weak, because in general in this structure here, black once both sides exchange on d4, he wants to break this powerful control by playing e6 and d5. And the moment you play e6, the pawn d6 becomes a bit weak, and White could try to use it by means of, I don't know, knight b5 for instance, or if there's a pin, you could even try to go e5 then, and so on. And yeah, Black's trying to prevent White's play as much as he can, preventing all the ideas of attacking d6, and finally to break through in the center with e6 and d5. Okay, d4 comes, takes bishop g7. Okay, just normal development. And now in the Maroczy, usually White puts his bishop on e3 because once the pawn is on f3, the dark squares are a bit weak, and the bishop is quite active here, controlling the long diagonal a7, g1, and as well as h6 and c1. So it's very powerful there. And in order to avoid an exchange, for instance, of the knight e3, something like, I don't know, knight g4 for instance, Black would simply get some time, unnecessary time, to be honest. Maybe you could even go for e5 and so on, to just disturb White's development. Therefore, Kamsky played f3 to avoid all knight g4 ideas. But of course, weakening some dark squares here. Okay, cancel, bishop e3, rook c8. Okay, developing or improving the rook with tempi. b3 to protect it. The drawback of b3 is that this knight here is a bit loose, and there's a tactical motive which Black sometimes uses. Now, here's some ideas, maybe not now, but with a6 b5 sometimes working because the knight is hanging if he takes with the c pawn. So you always have to be conscious about it. a6, okay, also in a way preparing b5, but also taking away the b5 squares. As I mentioned, one of Black's main plans in this position is to play e6 and d5. And if e6, White could consider knight d to b5, for example, and trying to attack d6. So he's just playing prophylactic moves, I mean. And okay, rook c1, just to control the knight, and maybe have an eye on c4, knight c6. And now an interesting choice. I mean, one cannot really go by theory in this moves in this opening, because it's something that you play according to plans, and slightly different move orders can lead even to same positions and then other way around. And it's not important that you know all the lines, you know the themes and the ideas you play here. And I mean, this position occurred, I think, maybe, I don't know, 5 times, something like this, 5 times around in the database. And yeah, okay, here he opted for a4. This move was only played once, and okay, it's obvious that it just prevents b5. And later on, if the knight disappears, you can even play a5. It's kind of interesting. I would say the idea in itself is maybe good, but the way Kamsky played it was a bit, I don't know, weird, and Black soon got the upper hand. In the only game before, Black played queen d8 just to try to aim up for the dark squares b6 and a5. Knight d2 was played, knight b4 using the hole on b4. Castle, knight d2, going for c5. And after queen d2, knight c5, rook b1 and b6. Black was almost fine, I would say. He had some slight initiative. Now bound some white pieces to the defense of his weak squares. So in general, his position was quite good. But Anish Giri tried to execute the main move, which, yeah, in a way is more in the spirit of position, and to free his play in playing d5. Now with all the moves, knight f5, knight b5 out of order, he prepares d5. Yeah, white cannot really do much about it. Castle d5. Here we go. And okay, he took on c6, strengthening his center. But although I think even the computer prefers this one, I don't like it very much, because if Black manages to get control over dark squares here, especially those two, White will always have some problems concerned regarding this b3 pawn. And I didn't like the way Kamsky now handled the position, because okay, a5 with the rather logical intention of playing knight a4 and b6, the knight might create powerful threats. He simply forgets that Black has enough counterplay to avoid this. I mean, queen e7 first of all to free the d file, which becomes relevant in few moves. Knight a4, okay, going for the plan. And maybe even sometimes playing bishop c5 now to hit the queen. And now very important, d takes e4. The pawn on d4 was loose, and therefore Black took the time and took it simply. If he retakes, the knight might even take it here, and yeah, he's just a pawn down. Therefore knight b6 was played, the initial intention, but an important Zwischenzug or intermediate move saves Black. And you can play rook d8, hitting the queen. And if the queen moves, he moves the other rook, and just simply remaining a pawn up. King h1. Okay, he saw that he cannot really regain the pawn, so he decided to play king h1. He takes f3. Rook takes f3. And if you now look at the position, Black is a pawn up. But he has some weaknesses in a way, so potential weaknesses on a6 and c6. But on the other hand, pawn's a pawn, and I would say his pieces are not well coordinated. I mean, this knight, in my opinion, is a bit superior to this one, because the knight there has no real targets. He doesn't have any real functions. Black can set up comfortably without paying too much attention to this knight, to be honest. And I like the way Anish now simply ignored this knight and tried to play for pure piece play with knight g4, intending to threaten to exchange it off. After he takes, I don't know, let's say with the queen, he plays bishop d4 and gains this pawn, so it's a threat. Bishop g1 has to retreat. Knight d5, hitting the rook. Rook f to f1, and now c5. with the simple intention of playing for the d4 square with knight c6 and knight d4, or maybe even bishop d4 first to exchange off the dark squared bishops and get total domination over the dark squares. b4, okay. Kamsky thought I cannot allow this, and I will sacrifice a pawn, a second pawn, but a pawn which I might maybe regain. And okay, I must say he failed in doing so, but it's probably the best choice he can do now. Okay, c takes b4, okay, thank you. c5. Now going for c6 and c7 probably, with the idea that okay, now this pawn is attacked, but also he cannot really go with the rook to c8, so once the pawn advances, he might even have to sacrifice an exchange. That's an important feature. Okay, queen b7. Just also to stop c6, and already eyeing the king. So pinning this pawn, therefore weakening the square h3, which is now accessible. And now okay, rook after d1, centralization, knight c6, attacking a5. Okay, queen f3. Well, I guess, let me see, I guess he could have even played this. I mean, if he just takes, and trying to attack this pawn leads just to the support of the b4 pawn. So maybe this was one way to play. The only drawback is that okay, a8 is not accessible, cannot be entered with a rook, but otherwise, I don't know. It looks also quite strong. Okay, but queen c7, h3, bishop e5, and okay, one can clearly see that black is just winning in this position. I mean, white is trying and begging for some counterplay, and but he doesn't really have anything. I mean, even the f7 pawn is not weak. He has to wait until for this execution. Queen b3, okay, attacking b4, but knight c6 does a very good job defending it. Rook takes rook d8, okay, trying to get some pieces off the board. Rook f1, avoiding it. Bishop knight d4, sorry, hitting the queen. Queen takes b4, knight f5, simply sacrificing the pawn and gaining time to aim for this dark squares here. And the main object and the main target here is the king. Okay, rook b1, knight g3, king h2, only move. And here I thought I've also imagined maybe some smoother mate, for instance after bishop d4. For a short moment I thought that he might have had a very nice idea of playing this, but unfortunately, of course, after knight g3, playing to just make a smooth mate, you can just take the knight. So unfortunately this doesn't work. It would be very beautiful. Okay, bishop takes d4, rook takes d4, and okay, the main point being queen takes d4, knight f5, check, discover attack, controlling, which is important, this square, which means that this one would have been a mistake due to queen d6 and suddenly white's winning. Okay, knight f5 is important. Queen e1, okay, avoiding all this. And also now threatened to take the knight. Knight e4, discover attack. King h1, queen takes c5. Again, being 2 pawns up, and yeah, the only pawn white could try to gain is a6, but he won't make it in time, because he would then need to dislodge one of the pieces to the queen side, but the king side is the side where the game will be probably decided. Okay, rook c1, hitting the queen, queen g5, king g1. king g7. Okay, prophylactic moves just to avoid any rook c8 ideas, any intermediate moves, because the queen is now forced to defend the rook. Before he could still go rook c8 and then escape, but now here white has to pay attention. And after knight c4, h5, just preventing any kind of counterplay. Knight e3, rook d3, also very strong, attacking the knight. Knight f1. Now a very powerful move, which was also possible on the 39th move, knight d2. With a simple idea and threat of playing this, and if the queens, I don't know, go somewhere, let's say here, he can probably just take on h3, or even play it and maybe later on pick out the rook. So this rook is always a weakness here. After king h1, he probably just missed another strong idea, rook takes h3, after which I guess, I analyzed it a bit further, but I think here's the point where Gata Kamsky resigned, because g takes h3 leads to a very quick loss after queen d5, and the king has to move to one of the two squares, g1 or h2, after which a knight on f3 appearing will fork both the king and the queen, winning the game very easily. Okay. Well, was quite a bit. I mean, this is a very instructive game now, how white should at least not try to play, but which resources black has in this very popular opening variation. And I think Anish Giri played very well. He used the mistakes of his opponent very good and quite well, and yeah, I think he deserved to win this game. Good, I hope you enjoyed today's game. I will try to cover the other two wins as well, and leave a comment on my channel, YouTube, DailyChessTV. Subscribe to my channel, please, so you get always informed once new clips are uploaded, and yeah, share this show on Facebook, Twitter, or somewhere else to your chess friends. Thank you very much, and see you next time.